did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years. I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Woo! Let's go! Here I am. Hey, welcome to Aaron Live. It is, what is it? Is it November 12th already? My gosh, I better go out and buy like stuffing mix and stuff. I got my frozen turkey. I got that out of the way. And Joe Biden's America, I think it only cost me like $300 for a 5-pound turkey. But I got to go get the stuffing as well so I can mix that up. It's going to be, this is, to me, I mean, everybody likes Halloween. It's fun. There's candy, whatever. But to me, the holidays really get going with Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. That's good times, and also the worst time for my diet. Anyway, here we are. I've got a special guest. We'll get to him in just a minute. Mike Barron is here. He's coming in a little bit early because, you know, he's got that early bedtime. So we can't keep him too long, but we'll be talking to Mike in just a minute here. But let me talk to you guys first. I know for a fact that Halder was the first one in the house, 6480. And you know what? That gets you nothing but my thanks and eternal gratitude for joining us, and appreciate your participation. Past Master Dan is here. He says, Mike, I will end you. Baron so I guess that's your nickname, Mike. I will end you. Sheeple Hunter. Repairman Jack says, I got to make sure I don't mention the Cornhuskers. Oops. The pain and suffering goes on. Mark Pengrin is here. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick, of course, is almost always here. H is for Heretic. We sweat and laugh and scream here because life is just a dream here. You know, inside you feel right at home here. Is that Dr. Seuss? Bill Maxwell is here. Stippling Vaughn. Congratulations on the wins last night, Aaron. I know he's not talking about Nebraska. Paul Taylor is here all the way from Canada. Randy Howell also all the way from Canada. Nordic Nerd is here. Geek Avenger is here. Solitary Rain. Let's see. Squeaky's here because when Geek Avenger's here, Squeaky's not far behind. Mike McMahon is here. And let's see. Lord Hinson Comics Gator. Thanks for joining us. Who else we got in here? There's Citizen Ronan. He's always around, lurking in the shadows. Sequential Treasure says Kit Carter on the verge of 60K. Congrats, Aaron. Thank you so much, James. Everybody, we'll get to that a little bit later, but you'll find the links not only to my campaign, but to Mike's Florida Man versus Hogzilla, which we'll be talking about shortly. Those are both in the description of this video. I encourage everybody to go there and back if you haven't already. Thank you for your support. Prater 7 is here. Kellraiser. There's Christina Lynn. Let's see. Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is here. Here on the Steadfast Bully Badger. Where is Shelly Showtime? That's the only reason we show up. She will be back, just not yet. We got to get her back taken care of before she can be back. Let's see. Stippling Vaughn says cannonballs are easy. I'm going for a Looney Tunes bonk. yeah, you just never know what I'm going to dish out. Heat Miser's here. Paul Taylor says, wow, how old was Mike in that picture in the, I don't know. We'll ask him. Iodine 74. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And you too, Aaron. Thank you so much. Corin Zenith is here all the way from Australia. Let's see here. Anybody I'm missing? There's Helder again. Everybody's talking to each other. It's very friendly in the chat. Cole King is here, not to be confused with Old King Cole. It's Cole King. Henry Bemis, all the way from Oregon, is here. Bobby Greer, thanks for joining us. Mr. Solomon. Henry Bemis, I just said that, but I'll say it again. Let me show you. Eric Hutfuls is here. Wow. Packing them in the door. You guys, please hit the like and subscribe if you don't mind. It helps this channel grow, which is, we want to get to 4,000 just so I can say I did it. Let me play this little public service announcement if you don't mind. There it is. That's what I call perfect timing. All right. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest star today. It's the one, it's the only, it's the legendary Mike Barron. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys.
Well, thanks for joining me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. You know, I just sent you a picture via private message on Twitter that more accurately reflects the way I look today.
Oh, all right. Well, I will. You're talking about not the Hogzilla one you sent me earlier, but a new one.
It's at the bottom. Yeah, it's at the bottom. Right, people say that I've lost my youthful good looks, so I dispute that.
Well, now that picture that was in the intro, what year do you think that was from? You saw it, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you weren't paying attention?
No.
Thanks a lot. I put all that effort in there and you don't even pay attention. Okay, I got it. Let's take a look at this. This is what Mike. I don't know. That may be a younger picture of you. Let's see.
I think it is. Yeah, this was taken about 10, 20 years ago.
What are you drinking there, Mike?
It's infused, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Okay. There we go. The ever youthful and young Mike Barron. So, Mike, we'll get to your campaign in just a second, but I want to ask you a little bit of background on it first before we go to the page. You are prolific if you're anything, and now we've got Florida Man versus Hogzilla. I'm going to show this picture you sent me earlier just to kind of warm up the chat a little bit here. Where did this whole concept of Florida Man, because this is the second Florida Man book, right? Or is it the third?
It's the second graphic novel, but I'm working on the fourth novel.
So where did all this start? Where did you get the idea to even do this?
My stories choose me. Every time I went online, there was another Florida Man story. You all know what I'm talking about.
Right.
A typical headline: Florida Man claims syringe found in rectum is not his. And there are thousands of those, thousands of them. So after a while, I said, well, this guy demands a novel. So I set out to create the archetypal Florida Man, but I didn't want to have a catalog of grotesqueries or something that would turn people off. My first goal always is to entertain. Certainly. And I knew to do that and to have a recurring character, you have to make them sympathetic. So Gary Duba is a redneck living in a trailer down by the swamp. He likes to get high. He likes to get stoned. He's got a hair-triggered temper. He's been in and out of trouble with the law his whole life, but he's got a heart of gold, and he'd give you the shirt off his back. And every Gary Duba story follows the same roller coaster ride from rags to riches to rags to riches to rags to riches. And each new scheme is more outlandish than the last. The new Florida Man story begins with him accepting a commission to smuggle 100 red-kneed tarantulas into the country for a rare animal dealer. People treasure them as pets, apparently, and it's illegal to smuggle them because they're endangered. And so I guess if you're endangered, it doesn't matter how poisonous or ugly you are, you're going to be protected. But they're not allowed in the United States. So the guy says to Gary, "I'm paying you half in advance. You fly to Mexico City. You meet Letitia at the airport. She'll give you a sealed suitcase. There's nothing to worry about. You check it through in the luggage. The suitcase is sealed. The tarantulas can't get out.
Of course they can't.
And that's how it begins.
Okay, so is that was that your first or the one you're working on right now?
That's the one that will debut shortly. It's the one that it's done. I mean, it's ready to the printer. It might even have gone to the printer by now.
So do you, on these novels, do you sell them direct? Do you sell them through Amazon? Where can people find these Florida Man novels?
Well, on Amazon.
Okay.
They're on Amazon. This one was drawn all by Matt Weldon. He's a terrific artist, great artist. You've seen the cover.
Well, let's take a look at this campaign then. While we're talking about it, we might as well take a look.
That's a Jeff Slemons, by the way. I just love that thing with the giant hog.
Yeah, that is great. Anything with a giant hog in it, I'm there.
Yeah.
It's not very good, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Here we go. There it is. Let me this is on Fund My Comic, right? So you're not an Indiegogo.
We are on Indiegogo.
You are, okay. Have you been shadow banned yet?
No, I think this one's okay. I think they said, "Oh, geez, this looks pretty okay." You know, I mean,
okay.
I can't find any grounds to ban it.
So you're on. Well, I brought the Fund My Comic link on here instead of the Indiegogo. I suppose you probably don't care what they use, right?
No, really. But we love Fund My Comic because it came into existence because people were giving us shit. You know.
Right. Well, there's a heck of a lot of truth there. You're kind of you were the guy that first was taking it on the chin from everybody.
I know, and as always, my number one goal is to entertain. It just so happens that my stories in this atmosphere are heterodox. 20 years ago, I don't think people would have objected to a pro-police graphic novel or a graphic novel about the southern border. But in today's heightened,
you're a bit of a pot stirrer, though, Mike. But Geek Avenger for $2 says, "Thank you, Geek. Appreciate that." He said, "Read Bronze Star the other day. Pretty good read." So
thank
there
you,
you
Geek.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for supporting those projects. Mike's got projects coming out faster than. Like I said, man, you're this prolific writer. But anyway, let's take a look at this trailer for Florida Man, and hopefully my sound will work. If it's not working, let me know.
Okay.
There is a creature in the swamps who has survived thousands of years of evolution. It lives to destroy. A mindless, eating machine. The beast they call Hogzilla.
After his latest get-rich scheme goes sideways, Gary Duba, the quintessential Florida man, ends up with a stash of somebody's high-end memorabilia. His gal Crystal is on probation and preparing for the fight of her life, squaring off against Australia's Queen of Combat. Delilah's got her back in training, staying off rich foods and the nose candy. Meanwhile, Gary and his best friend Floyd have been hired to wrangle a massive, abnormally aggressive feral hog that's terrorizing the swamp and wrecking Gary's old neighborhood. Can they bag the elusive monster swine without destroying the Sunshine State? Preserve your copy of Florida Man vs. Hogzilla, available on Fund My Comic. We're bringing back funny books, y'all.
Oh, that's funny. Who does your voiceovers? You have the best voiceovers on your trailer.
You know, Chris is in charge of that, and I don't know who this guy is, but we used Sam Elliott for the previous two.
You did not. You're lying.
I'm lying.
It sounded like him.
The guy sounds just like Sam.
I know he does. It's great. Okay, so who's drawing this book for you?
Matthew Weldon.
Oh, Weldon's doing it. Okay, great.
Whole thing, yeah.
Nice. Look at that.
With help from Marcelo Salazar.
All right. A lot of food in here.
And
Gator,
the
beer,
stretch goals.
lobster.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The lobster. The lobster plays a key role as a weapon. But the stretch goals are all determined by the cumulative contributions. So it doesn't depend on hitting the goal on any one of the sites that we're on, any one of the 3 sites. All of the 3 sites are aggregated all together, and we've already hit 2 stretch goals.
Okay.
And we think we're going to hit the rest too.
All right. Look at this. Adam Miller did a Hogzilla. That's the vacation, right? European vacation or whatever.
It is. People love that.
Yep. So you got 4 choices here. Weldon's cover is great. This one looks really nice too. And then we got Florida Man Riding the Hog by Pat Broderick. That's hilarious.
Bacon.
4 great cover options, man.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk over you, Mike, just because I can hear you.
It's your show.
That's right. And don't you forget it, pal. Oh, I'm just kidding, Mike. I'm kidding. I kid.
I know you're kidding. And I want to say that a lot of artists that put out their own books don't write that well, but you do.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that very much. Look at this extra stuff here. What do we got here? This beach party bundle.
Oh, yeah. You got the shirt, the hat, a lunch bag, it appears to me.
You've got 2. You got a beer holder thing there, and
yeah. I don't know what they're called, but I have one here.
Yeah,
it exists. I can't find it though because.
Well, I trust you. You've also got is that looks like some sort of drinking?
Yeah,
or
I
something?
do have that here.
That's nice. Oh, you got all the. Hang on a second. Let me make you a big screen here so we can see it better. Holy smokes! So that's kind of taken off on the old Coppertone ad.
Yeah, but it's always in the finest of taste.
Of course,
finest of taste, and that's what the towel shows too. Only all spread out. I took that to the pool this last summer, and I was booted. This is a family establishment.
What a shock. See, stirring the pot again. Okay, so and as far as the stretch goals, you said you've hit a couple of them already. So so you hit the first 2, which is a set of Florida Man stickers, and Crystal at the Beach, Florida postcard with every shipment. And that's the one. That's the image you just showed, right? With her getting her.
Yes.
Okay, and then so are you about at the 25 total, or are we close to that yet?
We're about halfway there.
Okay, so Hogzilla vacation poster included with every ship. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So there's some nice stretch goals there.
We only started on Monday.
Oh yeah, so you're doing great then. So you just launched. See, it's been basically about a week, almost a week tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. Excellent. And so you're on oh, man. You're on Fund My Comic, you're on Indiegogo, or are you anyplace else?
Kickstarter and Fund My Comic. Okay.
Now, did you have to do anything different on these campaigns to run them simultaneously, or are they the same thing, or do you not keep up with that?
No. Fortunately, Chris keeps up with it. But after we were booted from Kickstarter and Shadowband, like all of us are on Indiegogo, I think that they rethought their position, or that troll was gone because they didn't give us much grief on this one.
I'm surprised because they banned Kit Carter, but not until 24 hours after I launched. So I'm not sure if they're tagging us by our names or what exactly, the situation is, but I'm glad you escaped it, because I know everybody keeps emailing them and complaining. So
you said you were banned. They banned Kit Carter?
Yeah, it's shadow banned right now.
Oh yeah.
24 hours after I launched, 26 hours about after I launched, it ended up shadow banned. It's still on the Google search though, and I did buy which I think is actually a pretty good idea because it's cheap. I bought the domain Kit Carter Planet Doom. So if you go to www.kitcarterplanetdoom, there's a link right there that you can just, go right to the campaign.
Great.
So that'll
Post
show up
that
on Google.
on my page. Send it to me in a Twitter link, and I'll spread it around.
Okay, great. I'll do that. So you have a digital. You guys are running digital editions.
Yeah.
Digital 1 through 3. Then they all did Florida Man digital. So you have 3 different tiers or perks for digital. $25 for the actual regular book. Now, how many pages is this thing? Do you know?
I think it's 66 pages.
Okay, it's good size book.
66 pages because we do that so that after we fulfilled, we approach a traditional publisher. None of the big ones. American Mythology did the last Florida Man. They did it in 3 issues, and it was their highest selling title ever. So we'll probably go with them again.
Now, where do they get any sort of in-store distribution, or is this all online stuff? Or
no, they get in-store distribution.
Oh, that's great. So is this like what? Do you know what stores this would show up in?
No, but I suspect a lot of stores in Florida are going to sell. And by the way, I'm going to be at the Southwest Florida Comic Con on December 3rd in Fort Myers.
So you're going down to the sunny weather right before Christmas. That's the best time, man, to be in Florida.
Yeah.
I remember it well when I used to live there. That was the only time we didn't have humidity, was like right in the winter. It was really nice.
Why did you move?
Well, we moved to Florida to work because I was working at CrossGen.
Oh, right.
And then we left because my wife couldn't stand the bugs or she wasn't a big fan of the wildlife, which I was. We had like dude across the street from me had an alligator in his hedge once, and snapping turtles showed up in people's yards, and these
that's better than having his head in an alligator.
That's true. We had these they were probably about that big. So that's about 4-inch crawfish. Like twice caught them crawling across my yard, and I'm like, where did this thing come from, and where is it going? Because they don't move very fast. And I thought, if he came from water and he's heading to the next body of water, he's got quite a journey in front of him.
They're slow, but they're persistent.
I guess so. One of them hissed at me. He was crossing the street, and we got out I was taking my son to school, and we got out and went right by it was starting to crawl up the curb, and I got really close to see what it was. And it was like, and I was like, I didn't know they did that. I almost picked that thing up and boiled it for lunch, but I let him go. Let him go on his way.
The solution is if you can eat them, like they have Nutria has completely overrun the Southeast, and a couple of restaurants opened up in Louisiana just featuring Nutria dishes. And Nutria is a disgusting rodent. It's,
right. They're like they're not a rat, but those are kind of like bigger gerbils or something, aren't they? I mean, they're just. Well, I don't, someone told me once that he was from this guy I worked with when I was working at a commercial art studio, the guy that ran the art studio. He called, he was from he was from the Atlanta area, but he always would go to the Redneck Riviera, which I guess is the panhandle of Florida. And they would go to fairs and stuff, and they'd have like possum, you get possum on a stick and things like that. And I was like, geez, I don't know that I would go that route, but, we went to a few of those, like the state fair in Florida, and you could get like deep fried butter sticks and things like that. Only in Florida, baby.
The possums are our friends. We should not eat them.
Oh, you don't think so?
No. They can't get rabies, and they destroy all sorts of noxious pests.
No, wait a minute. You're telling a possum cannot get rabies?
No.
Okay, that's one plus. Of course, they're not indigenous.
Well, so it's Florida,
we brought them over from someplace, and
really?
Yeah, which no, they came. I can't remember the dates, but it was early on in colonial times when the shipments coming back and forth. They ended up like rats on these vessels, and so they're indigenous now, but that's interesting that they actually are technically an invasive species, but they're actually doing some good. So, all right.
They are. Yes, that's one invasive species that has a positive effect.
Okay. Well, I won't eat any then, Mike. Not that I necessarily would have previously, but now I certainly won't. I wanted to ask you, last time I had you on, we kind of did a brief overview of your career, but I one of the questions, I'm not sure if maybe I asked you this, but I can't remember, so I'll ask you again. How did the first thing you did was Nexus with Rude, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so you were working in the independent market, and then you did Badger, correct?
Yep.
So what got you transitioned from those independent companies to working for Marvel?
Well, with Marvel, it was Carl Potts who found Badger somewhere in a comic store, and he called me up out of the blue. He said, "Mike, I'd like you to take over the Punisher title." And I said, "Well, that's a great honor, Carl. What causes?" He says, "I like your Badger. I think you can do Punisher." At DC, Mike Gold was my editor at First Comics, and then Mike took a job at DC.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me to write The Flash.
So were you doing those concurrently, or were they did you do The Flash first and then went over to the Punisher? I can't remember.
I think the Punisher was first, but then
Okay.
I was writing them both concurrently for a short time. I only did 13 issues of The Flash plus an annual.
But you launched that new series,
yes,
where Wally West became the Flash, right?
Yes.
Because that was you and was that Butch Geist was drawing that?
It was, and I hope to be working with Butch again. In fact, we did work on Graham's book, Giant Sized Two-Fisted Manly Tales.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a big project in the works I can't mention. It's a very exciting book, and I hope that Butch will do it. It's a post-apocalyptic graphic novel. Oh, that's different, but it is different. Trust me.
Well, it's a great genre, though. You know what I mean? It's like you can say, "Oh, I'm doing a zombie comic," but it could still be entertaining and fun because people love zombie comics. And post-apocalyptic, it's like there's so many ways you can go. You know. And I've got actually something I just you know that guy, you did a couple stories for him, and I think he's in Sweden. And he was,
Martin?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't talked to him in a while. I did a story for him. He still hasn't published it. Like I did it like before I did Wraith of God. So I think it was like 3 years ago now. But he was doing everything was like post-apocalyptic sort of.
Yeah, let me show you because he sent me some of the books.
There you go. Mike leaves right in the middle of the show, but that's okay. He's going to get something. So bear with us here. All righty. What have you got?
It's called 2084.
Hang on. So, oops, that was me. I meant to do you.
I said, listen, that logo doesn't pop, but he's done with it. I mean, that's the way it's going to look. And it's got everything that's happening right now. It's with the addition of powerful telekinetics and telepaths who change the world. But otherwise, it's concerned with world tyranny and one world government.
That's something
so we all should be concerned about. I loved it.
So now the deal that you got with him, now did you give him the rights to that story, but you kept the rights to the character and the?
No, not at all. It was all Martin's idea. He gave me very detailed descriptions of the characters. I have no claim on what he created.
Okay. Because he just came to me and asked me if I wanted to do something, and I gave him the rights to the story, but not to the character. And this was the thing that I did. It was called New Exodus, and again, it's this post-apocalyptic sort of futuristic, city-state scenario, that kind of the material he was specifically looking for this book. And I don't know why the heck he hasn't published it yet, but he hasn't. So there it sits. But I keep finding the pages in my flat file going, man, I'd love to see these in print. Because I thought the story was actually, for like an 8-10 page story, whatever it was, I thought, well, it was pretty good. But oh well, there it sits. Maybe someday.
Printed it. You should ask him.
I do. I email him every few months and go, what's going on? And then he's like, well, I got to get the money together. And, so.
Still won't. He didn't tell me what he does for a living. He probably didn't tell you either.
No, I have no idea. Maybe not enough. It may be the problem. But anyway, so the other thing that I find incredibly fascinating about you, Mike, is how involved you were like in the rock scene in the, late 60s and into the 70s, because you were a writer for what magazine?
I was the music editor for Boston Phoenix, but I've also written for Cream and Fusion. And in fact, I'm still writing about music today for Remember the Lightning on Substack. It was for Pop Geek Heaven, which was created by Bruce Brodeen, who had his own record label, Not Lame Records. And they put out over 100 albums of outstanding power pop. And those records are highly desired today, with some of the greatest bands you've heard of and some of the greatest bands you've never heard of, like Jellyfish, the Shazam.
How do you, when you say you were a rock writer, were you actually critiquing stuff, or were you just like personal stories, that type of thing, or were you reviewing albums?
Reviewing albums, reviewing live performances, interviewing musicians. I've interviewed a lot of musicians. I interviewed Rick Derringer, Eric Carmen. Who's that bass player?
Interesting dude. He used to be on Twitter all the time with him, and James Woods would tag team people, because they were, as I recall, Carmen was pretty conservative.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
But I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything from him on social media for a while. But so, how do you, when you're reviewing something, musically speaking, I can understand how you could do a review on a live performance, but on a record, what kind of criteria are you looking for to say, hey, this is a really good album, or this is not so great?
Originality. There are so many. Power pop is a big tent. It stretches all the way from the Beatles to the Plimsouls. When I think of power pop, I think of the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and the Byrds, who are three archetypes, but very different in form. I'm looking for dynamics. Power pop means bridges and hooks. And a hook is a chord that resolves the tension created by the bridge, where you introduce two chords that demand release with a third chord. And you may not know what that means, but you all understand it intuitively when you listen to a Beach Boys song. Because it da 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 da. That's the bridge. Da 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 da, and then comes the hook. Da 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 da. Round round, get around, I get around.
So basically, you're grading these guys on how successful they are at creating essentially a catchy tune, right?
Well, I'm not grading them, because if I don't like the record, I won't write a review. It's my job to highlight the good.
Right.
And every year I say, and every year it's true, this has been one of the greatest years in pop rock history since music began. That you'd never know it reading the so-called music press or watching the award shows. It's all underground. You see, I'll show you something I got right here. I think I can find it. Yeah. Oh, I just happen to have this C Train album. This is from the early 70s. And these were guys that used to be in the original Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And this is just a phenomenal record, just phenomenal.
So they were in Blood, Sweat, and Tears and formed a new band called C?
Well, when Blood, Sweat, and Tears kind of fell apart, the first group was created by Al Cooper. I love Al Cooper. I've spoken with Al Cooper, but the band hated him and they kicked him out. And then they got David Clayton Thomas, and they hated him even more. But their fourth album, New Blood, is probably their best record. Nobody's ever heard it. It's just a masterpiece. I'm crazy about horn rock. I wrote a book about it, called A Brief History of Jazz Rock.
Now, Ethan's in the chat. Hey, Ethan, he says Doja Cat is good. Now, do you agree with that? Or does he think he's trolling?
I'm not familiar with Doja Cat.
Well, okay.
I urge Ethan to listen to that Foreign Films record I said.
Okay. All right. There you go, Ethan. You got your homework for
Comics. If you I'll send you a package too of the best in contemporary power pop.
Do you? Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think I quit listening to music like in the late 80s, but d- I know he's stunned. Do you ever get, I mean, obviously you're still, seems like you're tied in to the music scene. Do you ever get a hankering to get back into that, doing some articles for, whoever
Well,
would be your current music publisher?
like I say, I write about them all the time.
Do you
And
still, wait a minute, you still do?
I do it for the free records. And they say, well, here's a download. I say, I don't do downloads, I'm I'm so old I saw Hendrix. Give me a CD. So yeah, I do it, and they send me CDs, and I write about them, and I write about them driving around in the car. I put them in my deck player, and I have a notepad next to me, and I make notes as I listen to the music, what they're doing, what's unusual about it, who they sound like. I only do it at stops, by the way, folks. I don't.
I was going to say, you're not writing while you're driving, are you, Mike?
No.
That's it's a little dangerous there, pal.
But I do pull over to the side of the road a lot to make notes.
Okay, I was going to say that's like saying, yeah, smoking pot and writing while I'm driving. You're like, I don't know if that's a good combination.
It wasn't.
So basically, they take so you review the album for them and they post it on their site, or is that how it gets used?
Yeah.
Excellent. How about that? I didn't know that. See, you're
Well,
just
there's some good sites. If Power Popaholic is probably the best.
Mike. How do you get any? I mean, do you have any downtime at all? I mean, it sounds like you're constantly writing.
It doesn't seem that way to me. It just seems that I spend most of my time spinning my wheels. But somehow this stuff gets written. I guess, once I get the idea firmly in my mind, where it's going and what's going on, the writing comes smoothly. And any good writer will tell you that. And Chuck will. I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing when he's writing those Lee Von Cade novels.
Do you have any sort of? I remember Chaikin used to describe to me his writing approach, and that he would write, scenes down on. You've heard the whole thing. You write a scene down on a note card, and pretty soon you have 30 or 40 note cards, and then you kind of arrange them to see where you think the scenes fit best, and blah blah blah. Do you have any sort of structural technique?
Yes, I do. I start making notes, anything and everything, the character, the protagonist, who's involved, scenes like Howard does, names if they're interesting. And at some point they reach what I call a critical mass. And by that I mean I can see the whole story. And when that happens, I write an outline, a brief outline, but it's more, what is your story about? And the purpose of the outline is not just to guide me into the prose of the novel, is to excite anybody who reads it. Once they read it, I want them to say, holy shit, where do I get the book now? So it's not writing it just for myself. I'm writing it for others as well. If you want to know what I mean, just go to Amazon and look at the publisher's descriptions for any of my books, or any books by a good crime writer like John D. MacDonald or Robert Cray or Raymond Chandler. The way they describe the story, that's what I'm talking about.
So for me, I generally come up with the ending first. I mean, I know exactly where I want to go. Do you ever start not knowing where you're headed? Or is that like you have to have your destination figured out before you start?
I have the structure in my head.
Right.
There's a book called On Moral Fiction, and it argues that the reader will feel cheated if good is not rewarded and evil is not punished in the book. And there are exceptions to this. There are fascinating books about evil people like Cormac McCarthy and Pete Dexter have written books like that, and Flashman. But for the most part, we want to see the good upheld and evil punished. We want a moral structure to our stories. And that's in my mind. But I also think that you can't surprise a reader unless you surprise yourself. And that always happens to me, especially when I start researching a story. You look for, well, where do possums come from, for example? And I would go online and look for where possums come from. And I find out that maybe they came over with Portuguese sailors who brought them on board to eat the rats or something. And that sends me off in a new direction. But I have the structure is the same, and it's similar to a good pop song. You
Mhm.
have the tonic, you've got the bridge, and you've got the hook. And by that I mean the story is always in motion. The dynamics are always in motion. Because if it was like this all the way across, it'd be a pretty boring story.
Sure.
So the hero is up, the hero is down. You have to put these obstacles in his path for him to overcome. Because not only does that satisfy our craving for adventure, but it illuminates his soul and his personality.
Do you think it's intuitive, or at least you can speak to yourself about where to put in the conflict and the resolution, and you have many conflicts along the way? And do you like when you start writing your story out, do you say, wow, this is 20 pages and I really don't have any like you said, it's kind of flat line. Do you sense intrinsically when that story needs a bump or when it needs to drop? Or do you have more of a structured like approach where you say, well, if I'm not doing something in the first 10 pages, this is going to suck. So, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't go into it without knowing the first 10 pages. I always have to have a strong opening, something that grabs the reader's attention, a condition, the person's character. There's so many ways to entice the reader. The most important question in fiction is what happens next. Because if the reader doesn't care, he's not going to turn the page. Well,
right.
How do you make the reader care? There are an infinite number of ways, but let me just name three right off the top. Number one, you have a fascinating character that everybody loves, Sherlock Holmes. Okay. Number two, you have a situation that's intrinsically fascinating, Jurassic Park. Or number three, you have a seductive narrative voice, somebody who writes so well, whose words are just fun to read. And I think of Raymond Chandler when I think of that.
Okay.
But Michael Chabon has also got a very seductive narrative voice.
How much reading other people's work is a part of your strategy for writing? I mean, everybody reads to a certain extent because they enjoy it, but how much do you feel like, man, I really need to make sure I'm well read in these areas?
I think that every writer has to read, and I have a bathroom book, a kitchen book, a bedroom book, and a car book, and I'm working on 4 books at a time. But so, a lot of them are fiction. You got to read fiction.
Again, I'm concerned about your car books, Mike. Are you reading this? You're pulling over to the side of the road before you're reading this book in the car, aren't you?
Oh, I don't read in the car.
Oh,
I carry the book with me. I wish I'd carried one down to Denver this past weekend because I was stuck at my desk with nothing to do. It was a little con. I wish I'd brought a novel, but I stupidly didn't.
So this is a perpetual thing. You are constantly reading, is what you're telling me. You're a busy guy. You're either reading or writing. I don't know. You eat, right? I know you sleep, but you do take time to eat, right, Mike? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah. And I've always had trouble sleeping, too. I've been sleeping a lot better recently.
Good. Okay, so you're doing something for the Rippaverse for Eric July, correct? Can you talk about that at all? Or is it too early?
No, it's no secret that he entrusted his character Gooding to me.
Okay.
And he said, bring Gooding to life. Tell us his story. So
go ahead.
We first meet young Cato Gooding when he's in grade school, and we follow him through high school and university. And his first job with a big tech firm that totally alienates him, and he becomes determined to leave and start up his own tech firm. And it reveals his character because there are trials along the way. There's a major villain that I introduce. But the whole thing, I loved doing it because I find ways to make school life. Well, school life is always interesting. We all had struggles in school. It was often traumatic for many of us, and those elements play into it. And then afterwards, when he falls into the dog-eat-dog world of business, and he's working for this big corporation, and he's coming up with these inventions on his own. And when he decides to leave, they say, everything you created on our dime belongs to us, which kind of irritates him and makes him more determined than ever to succeed.
Now, is this like a mini series? Are you taking over writing the? Is this part of what ISOM is, or is it something separate? Or
It is. It's part of Ison's universe,
right?
but
But is
it's
it
a
a separate
complete
series?
story. It's a complete story in
Okay.
and of itself.
Okay.
I'd love to be asked to continue, but first we're going to have to see the reception of this first book.
Okay. So it's basically they're going to release it as a one shot and see where it goes from there.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So I'm trying to time this here. I want to get you out of here on time, but I got another question for you as we bounce back and forth between comics and rock and roll. So Mike, give me your, I do a thing on this show that I'll probably do later. But I want to know, do you have like a top 5 bands all time, rock bands?
People ask me that all the time. I say, I have 100 top bands, but let me just mention.
Give me some of your favorites. Give me some of your favorites.
Well, the Plimsouls, Jellyfish, they only put out 2 records, but they revolutionized the industry. Rob Bonfiglio, who is with Wanderlust, and Wanderlust is another brilliant band. I think I mentioned the Shazam. I love the Beach Boys. And if you love the Beach Boys, there's a band called Explorers Club. And Ethan knows them well. He's a big fan of Explorers Club, too. They start where the Beach Boys left off.
Really?
Yeah. And there are many bands that emulate the Beach Boys. There's Sun Chimes. I like them as well. But the Explorers Club, especially their first record, Freedom Wind, is near perfection. It's like being hit with one great Brian Wilson song after another. Only they're different because Jason, who heads the band, writes the music, is different, and he's got a more modern sensibility. But yeah, Explorers Club gets my highest recommendation, as do the Foreign Films. The Foreign Films is a Canadian band. They're just brilliant.
These are all contemporary guys that are recording right now, right?
Yeah, Foreign Films put out a new record last year.
Where are you on the nostalgia train for like classic rock? Do you separate that and say that was a different thing?
No, not at all. No, I love it all. I'm a big Leonard Skinner fan. Cream. I saw Pink Floyd in concert.
Oh, that's probably my favorite all-time band would be Pink Floyd.
I saw McCartney and Wings once.
Did you really?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we saw Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but it was a legacy band. There were no original members in it, and I enjoyed the interpretation, but they didn't have the electricity that they must have had when they opened up years ago. And besides that, there are other bands that do that better, I think, and Chicago is one of them. Chicago is one of my favorite bands. Their first 2 albums are masterpieces.
All their numbers, all Chicago's albums were numbers, right? Chicago 1, Chicago 2. Yeah. What do you think of? Forgive me if I get this name wrong. Is it Greta Van Vliet? Is that what's the name of that band? Greta Van something. They sound like Zeppelin, but like a newer version of Zeppelin. You guys in the chat, help me out. Who is this?
That's a new one on me. You're going to have to send me that name so I can look them up.
Okay, I will do that. Have you heard? And here's one more question, rock and roll question. We'll get back to your campaign, but I love talking about rock. Someone recommended years ago, and for some reason I still haven't gotten to listen to it, but said if you really want a really great kind of rock blues album, to get Songs from the Cradle from who sings Cocaine? Why can't I think of his name? Look, this is 2 old guys trying to remember names. He married George Harrison's wife, Judas Priest, Eric Clapton.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of that album, Songs from the Cradle? I believe it's called.
I haven't heard that one in particular. I do still have my my Cream album, and they had another band he put together. I can't remember what it was. I think I saw him once at a Fairway in Milwaukee. It was a great concert. It was all the British hard rockers.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So Old Dirty Fatty in the chat, thank you so much. He says it's Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet. and they sound like kind of a modern take on Zeppelin. They're very interesting band, really pretty good. And I don't really keep up with contemporary rock, but my daughter showed it to me and she goes, "Don't these guys sound like Zeppelin?" And I went, "God, they kind of do."
Wow.
So there you go. Greta Van Fleet, Mike. You got to check that out and tell me what you think.
Okay. Write that down. Derek and the Dominoes. I love them too.
Yep. How old were you when you saw Hendrix live?
Oh, I was about 22,
Okay.
21 maybe.
So that would have been what, 69?
71. 70. It was 70. It was 1970. I was 20 years old. And you can listen to that concert today. All you got to do is Google Jimi Hendrix at the Dane County Coliseum.
Dane County. When did he die? It wasn't much long after that.
No, it wasn't. And he was terrific. He was with the band of Gypsies with Buddy Miles on drums. And
really?
And he just killed it. And then a couple months later, we saw Sly and the Family Stone. That was the worst concert I've ever seen.
Now, why?
2.5 hours late. Sly was obviously stoned to his gills on something, and they only played for 45 minutes. It was half-assed, half-hearted, didn't care about the audience.
Now, was there an opening number for them?
No, it was just all sitting in the arena for 2.5 hours.
What did they do to keep people from walking out? I mean, at some point, are you thinking they're not going to show up or what?
When you're young or stupid and you really want to see the band, you hang out there.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. How about that? I heard some story that along those lines, I can't remember where it was, but it was when Skinner was still opening for people, and they opened for the Stones someplace, and they were so good that Mick Jagger was so pissed that he waited like an extra hour or something before the Stones went on so that they wouldn't sound bad in comparison to how good Skinner was.
I saw the Stones in the 90s, and they put on a great show.
Well, I would imagine that they're, one of the better live bands to see. Maybe not now, but I'm sure they were when Mick wasn't walking around with a cane, probably. Oh my goodness. Well, I can sit here and talk rock all day, but let's take a look at your campaign again. This is on both.
It's on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Fund My Comic. Are you on Fund My Comic?
I'm on the Fund My Comic one, yeah.
Good for you.
I didn't realize you were on Indiegogo, so I just grabbed the Fund My Comic one. But you guys, if you want to back this, the link is in the description of the video. I'd really encourage this. This looks like you got some backers there. It looks like this is just freaking hilarious.
I guarantee you'll laugh out loud. I guarantee it.
And this, you said, is the second graphic novel for him. But you're working on your fourth prose novel.
Yes. And I don't put it down unless it's going to make me laugh. And I surprised myself the other day writing the fourth novel. I came down finally, and I found the perfect ending for a chapter. I don't want to describe it because it gives it away, but it made me laugh, so it'll make other people laugh. That's what I mean.
No, I was going to say there's a great moment when you're writing something and you make yourself laugh. That's when you know you've hit a right note.
Right.
So again, this is Matthew Weldon doing your interiors. What's the can you give us a I don't know, kind of a brief overview of exactly what we're looking at for story-wise on Florida Man versus Hogzilla?
Oh, well, it starts with Gary trying to smuggle these tarantulas in. That doesn't work out. So the next thing they're counting on making money is Crystal gets a new wrestling match. She becomes a female wrestler because something happened in the first issue, the first graphic novel. And people who've read it know it, and that's why she's called the Black Dildo. And it's because a cop threw her husband to the ground, and she had this 3-foot-long hard rubber black dildo she just got as a trousseau gift, and she ran out of the house and started whacking cops with it, and it was filmed. So that's how she became known as the Black Dildo. But then Crystal gets in trouble at the Sprouts Market because she did too much cocaine before going in there, and she's lined up behind a problem shopper, and finally she loses her cool and she starts screaming. The manager asks her to leave, and she starts throwing frozen lobsters around like shurikens. So she goes back to jail again. She's in and out of jail constantly.
There you go.
And Gary has to get some money to bail her out. So he teams up with his buddy Floyd, who runs a pest control service. And they put a house inside a giant plastic envelope and pump it full of poison gas to kill all the pests. And when they do that, alligators start running out. They burst in through the plastic, and all sorts of strange animals are coming out. But that's just a little bit of what goes on.
Now, are these stories, I mean, do you see a headline and go, oh my gosh, or are they just based, I mean, you come up with these new concepts based on just kind of the idea of
some of them are inspired by the actual stories. Like one is Florida couple discovered living in attic of Walmart for 2 years, living the life of Riley, giant flat screen TV, and brewing meth. And that's in the third Florida Man novel. I may work it into one of the graphic novels, but I have so much material to work with.
Oh my gosh, I guess that's incredible. True life, stranger than fiction, right? Oh my gosh. You know, the things that I found kind of interesting, I don't know, did you do any research on wild hogs and feral pigs?
Yes, I did.
I guess what I found out just through happenstance, I didn't write a research paper on it or anything, but you've got your wild boars, but then you get these like farm pigs that can get huge. I mean, gigantic. But then they get out in the wild, I guess. And then you've got these sort of like giant wild hogs out there that were once domesticated farm animals, but are now like these gigantic hogs.
Let me send you a picture of a real hog
with bated breath. This I want to see.
There it is.
All right, let me go over there to did you send it to me on Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's right underneath your old man picture.
It's 2 spots beneath it.
Well, why isn't it coming up? Maybe it hasn't shown up yet.
No, I'm looking. Oh, I sent it to Lorena. Excuse me. Hang on a second.
Send it to me, Mike.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's right under the old man picture. I'm an idiot. It's a miracle I get anything done.
Well, you know, it's I'm on the edge of my seat here, Mike.
There it is.
All right, let me hasn't come through yet. Let's see, where are we? Oh, yeah, well, okay. But this, you know, I do a thing on cryptids on this show, mostly Bigfoot, but sometimes other things. And this is well, let me show it so everybody can see it, because everybody's, I know at some point has seen this. I've seen this photo. There we go. Now, wasn't this sort of blown up? The pig, I think, was blown up. I mean, it's still huge, but I don't think it's quite that big. I think they doctored the photo a little bit to make it look gigantic, but it's still a freaking huge pig. And this was
5 of the biggest wild hogs ever taken by hunters. Search for largest feral hog. All right, here's another one.
You're getting it here, folks. You don't get this kind of content anyplace else.
Well, it's a little dinky thing, but it probably weighs about 500 pounds.
All right, let's take a look at this guy.
Oh, man.
Jeez. That's big enough to take your leg off.
There's a show about him in Texas. I think it's called Hoggers. It's like swamp people. It's the swamp. Oh, wait, here we go. Oklahoma bruiser boar, 760 pounds.
These things will kill you, man, with those tusks.
Oh yeah, they have killed people.
Now, I know that first one I showed, I know that photo's been doctored. It was still a huge freaking pig. It just wasn't as big as they made it look on there. Did you send me another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but these are actual wild hogs, right?
Yeah.
Because what I'm talking about is like the farm pigs that, because the farm pigs get bigger than these things, and they get crazy because if they survive out there, they can get enormous, and then they're like wild animals. It's crazy.
It's a big problem in Texas.
Yeah, but think of the ham you get out of this thing. Look at that. This was 700 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you could ride that if it would stand still for it.
That is one nasty. They must have hog season in Texas, I would assume, right? Because this stuff is these guys are probably
there's no season. It's open season on them all the time.
All the time. Man. So are these? Do you know if these actual wild ones are good eating, or are they just killing these things too?
I don't know. I would love to find out. I have a friend who lives in Florida who recently sent me a picture of a wild hog he shot.
Yeah.
I will ask him.
Okay. Because I'd be curious. I mean, I would assume you could eat them, just like.
Yeah.
Man, look at that. That head on that thing is just nasty, scary looking. It's like a freaking werewolf or something.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, you got to think twice, man, before you move. There's always something weird out there waiting for you.
Aaron, I did want to ask you about one illustration you have for Kit Carson.
Kit Carter?
Kit Carter. Kit Carter. It's a Frazetta homage, isn't it? Where she's up front and there's this creature outlined behind
Gary Martin did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he does a lot of like recreation type stuff.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know that was Gary. I thought that was you.
No, he took that Buck Rogers Frazetta cover, and we'll take a look at it real quick here before I let you go. But again, I wanted to revisit this one more time. The Florida Man 2 versus Hogzilla. This is what do you say, about 66-page graphic novel here, featuring everybody's favorite Florida man and his trashy girlfriend throwing lobsters in the grocery store.
Lobbing lobsters.
You got 4 cover options here. All of them are awesome. You got Matthew Weldon's. Now, when you say Morani Rogue, this isn't the final art. Is it similar to this? He just isn't finished with it yet?
No, he just hasn't finished with it. And you see her head is tastefully blocking out the words black dildo. And when they throw her into prison with a bunch of tough black women, one of them says, "Ain't you the black dildo?" And she says, "Yeah." And this woman says, "Ha! You ain't even black."
Oh man, you've got the European Vacation tribute poster there, and then by Adam Miller, and then Pat Broderick doing the Florida Man riding the wild hogs. You have 4 cover options here, you guys. This beach party bundle, t-shirts, hats, like beach bag, beer squeezy thing, and plastic drinking cup with the Florida Man stuff art on it. You say 2 stretch goals already. It's only been up for a week.
That's right.
So this is moving right along. This looks hilarious. There you go. There's the
that's the scene. I said, "You ain't even black."
You ain't even black. And everybody's getting a kick out of it. Oh, that's funny. Look at this. He's got his samurai sword on his lawnmower.
That plays an important part in the story.
Oh, I believe it, Mike. This is just crazy insanity. Look at that chick on the John. We all like to see that. some chick did an album cover like that back in the 70s or 80s. It was just, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying it was one of the worst album covers of all time. So
That's saying something.
yeah. So anyway, you guys, there it is. You'll find the link for the description of Florida Man 2 versus Hogzilla in the description of this video. This looks like a really fun comic and read. So get out there, support Mike Barron, and support this campaign. I'll show you real quick what that piece of artwork we were talking about on the Kit Carter. Gotta push too many buttons, man. It's right. It's cover, interior page. There it is. Right. You're talking about this one, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's from one of the Buck Rogers covers that Frazetta did from the 50s. And so, yeah, he took the monster that was in there and all the tech behind him, then put Kit Carter in the foreground.
Yeah.
That piece is available in the only in the gallery section of the hardcover. It won't be featured in the paperback.
Yeah, but your work is exquisite too. I mean, I'd love to work with you one of these days.
I know, Mike. That's one thing
I keep saying that.
Thank you. It's so difficult. We're all working on our own projects these days.
I know. I'm lucky to work with the artists I have. I'd like to work with everyone in Comicscape.
We're some good people doing some good stuff.
At least among the kings.
Yeah. Well,
I got a jet.
Okay, Mike, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
The rock and roll talk and the hilarious stories. And everybody make sure you back Florida Man 2 versus Hogzilla. We'll be looking forward to that and your other projects coming up as well, Mike. Thanks a bunch, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Mikey Barron. And again, you guys can back that campaign in the description of this video. Okay, so it's just me and you now, but we got plenty of stuff still to do, so don't leave early. I'm going to plug my book now, if you don't mind. This is Kit Carter, Planet Doom's graphic novel. It's 8.5 by 11 inches, so it's the old like Marvel graphic novel series that they did in the 80s. It's that size, 64 pages. Knowing me, it'll probably be a few more than that. And at least 64 pages, let's say that. And it's 8.5 by 11, so it's bigger than the actual normal comic book size. The story is pretty simple. It's Kit Carter is an elite ranger I'm going to read it because why stumble over it trying to remember what I wrote when I just so eloquently wrote it right here on the campaign. Kit Carter is an elite ranger in the Galactic Alliance Freedom Force. That's GAF. And along with her partner, Merv the Astro Chimp, she polices the galaxy, bringing the most dangerous villains and tyrants to justice. Lord Menace is the tyrant king of a dying monster-infested planet codenamed Planet Doom. In a dangerous, I'm going to go Kirk, in a dangerous and desperate move, he acquires the Eye of Omnium and employs its unmatched power to rejuvenate his planet and create forces to conquer the galaxy. Now, Kit and Merv are dispatched to stop him, but this is one adversary that even they can't handle. Find out in this irreverent space adventure inspired by 1950s sci-fi B movies, and I should say sci-fi comics as well, notably EC. So anyway, there you go. That's the story in a nutshell, folks. You have the hardcover here. This is by me. It'll be signed and numbered by me, and it'll actually have the bonus gallery of art in it, featuring stuff from a variety of different artists, including me. So, or you can get the soft cover by my good friend and talented artist Chris Stevens. Did the cover here. Of course, the interiors are by me again. It's the same story in both, obviously. Here's a little action from the very first page of the graphic novel. This sort of picks up where the Kit Carter backup story that's in Wraith of God Bloodhunters leaves off. And So we get kind of an Indiana Jones opening where she kind of takes care of this previous adventure, wraps it up, and then we move on into the new one. There again, of course, is Gary Martin's pinup that will be in the gallery section of the hardcover. This was originally going to be the cover to the hardcover, but I thought Kit looked a little too posed, and so I went with the other design, but this will be in the gallery, and it'll be colored by our good friend Kelsey Shannon, who's also coloring the book. I want to point out that Matt Ryan, who inked me on Wonder Woman, Ms. Marvel, Justice League, Conan, Wonder Woman, the Herculoids, just a variety of things I've worked on over the years. Matt's been my regular inker, and I have employed him to ink the interior of this book, mainly because he's really good, obviously, and it allows me to get the book done faster so we can move on to Wraith of God 3 in the springtime when this wraps up. So my goal is here at Empire Comics is to get 2 books a year, which would mean that I'm going to employ services of other people to help me get those 2 projects a year done. It seems like the only way I think that I can get everything done in the time frame that I want to get it done in. So you can get T-shirts, black and teal with Kit Carter on there. There's the Kit Carter color sketchbook. This will be at least 32 pages, and it's full color. What does that mean? That means that there are some pieces in my sketchbooks that I've done in color, so I wanted them represented in color. A lot of it will be pencil art, but there will be color in it, so it'll be printed in color. It's 8.5 by 11, so it perfectly matches the size of the other books in this Kit Carter collection because you want them all fit nicely together on your bookshelf. You can also get the Kit Carter movie poster, which is 14 by 36, which is the old classic insert movie poster size. This is the color study I did for the painting, this isn't the finished painting, but it is the finished design of what the poster will look like. So who can save the universe before lunch? Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger in Planet Doom. This lettering could change as well. And then we have our little, movie stuff down here, and then rated PG. So you want to make sure you check with your parents before you go see this movie. We also have the Kit Carter shot glasses to go along with the Wraith of God shot glasses and the Garbage Man shot glasses. So if you're collecting the whole set, there will eventually be 6, and there will be a holder that we're going to offer when we get to the 6th glass. So it's still a couple of campaigns away before we have all 6 of them, but that's what we're shooting for. So if you're collecting the shot glasses, don't miss this one. You can get a Garbage Man trade paperback. You can get Power Cube trade paperback as add-ons. Those both come signed. If you missed Wraith of God, the very first one, we do have the second printing available in both covers, the full color one and the black and white virgin cover without the logo. There's only about 300 of these printed up, and about 700 of these. So there's like 1,000 total that are available of these. So it's actually a very small print run on these, but they are available if you missed the very first graphic novel. You can also, if you missed Blood Hunters, which we are shipping right now, which I'll get to in a second, you can get the wraparound cover, cover B, the Tales of Suspense tribute, or cover C, the Tomb of Dracula #1 variant, or of course the Bisley variant. These are all available while supplies last as add-ons. And I think we still have 2 pages of original artwork left. Let's take a look over here and see. Yeah, so we still have this episode 14. That's this one right here, which features our lava guy that we just saw in the preview. And this nice page with Kit and Merv on it. So if you like Merv and you like Kit, you got them both on this. This is pretty much a Merv-centric page, but you have a nice Kit Carter, Zing the Zealous back here. So these are both available. That's the only original artwork I have left right now in the campaign. You've got all these different combinations of the books, the sketchbook, the poster and the T-shirts Well, the t-shirts actually don't ship separately. They're the same size when they're folded as the book, so they'll ship together, thankfully. But the poster will ship separately in a tube. I'm not going to fold it and ruin it for you guys. But if you get the, if you're a big spender and you get the Kit Carter Completist for $220, everything gets mailed together in one huge box, including a Kit Carter headshot, the sketch from me. So you get an original piece of art plus all these other goodies that we just looked at. So my goal right now, get this sucker to $60,000 so that we get the next sketch goal, which is a David Williams trading card. Did we go over the stretch goals? Let's take a look at those real quick. So you got the, there was the early sign up card, Click from Power Cubed, that everybody got that signed up early in order to get those for free. I'm going to make them available later once it gets colored on this campaign for $5 if you didn't sign up early, for shame. The Power Blaster trading card by David Williams, which is another character from Power Cubed. And then the Empirus, trading card, which is one of my new characters. You'll remember if you got the Wraith of God original graphic novel, it came with a sticker set. And one of the stickers in there was a character named Empirus. And we're going to find out a little bit more about Empirus in this trading card. And David's actually working on a backup story for me that'll appear in Wraith of God 3, featuring this character as well. Lord Menace, who's the villain in the Kit Carter graphic novel. We have a trading card by me in there. And then 100 grand, we got a Mr. Midnight trading card, who, of course, is the leader of the nightclub. Another, I'm not going to say series, but another IP of mine that, again, the backup story appears in Blood Hunters nightclub backup story, as well as the first appearance of Eon Chance. And if you want to get the very first appearance of the nightclub, they're in the Garbage Man trade paperback, and they also featured in the epilogue at the end of the Wraith of God #1. So all these things sort of intertwine in the Lopresti verse. So if you guys haven't picked up all those extra things like Garbage Man trade and Power Cube trade, I would encourage you to do so, because it kind of will give you a more complete big picture of everything. At 125, we're going to do a big sticker that goes in the front of your comic book box that's Empire Comics and has like characters on it along with the logo. That was Shelley's idea, which I think is actually a really good idea. 150,000, we'll do a dust jacket add to the hardcover. And if we get beyond that, I'll add some more stuff. So it's all just fun and games until someone loses an eye. So there we go. We're stuck at $59,035. Let's get some backers in there, get this up to 60 in that next stretch goal, and keep this sucker moving along and see if we can set a new record for me on this book. Okay. I'm not a guy. I'm not a great barker. I don't love selling stuff all the time, but you know, it's part of the process. But we also have a show to do here. And so let's get on. We haven't even taken a look at our Frazetta of the day. So let's start by taking a look at our Frazetta image of the day. Of course, that was a spot illustration from, we're starting out this whole Frazetta thing by going through some of the images in the Doubleday books, the hardcovers that reprinted all of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Mars books, and with spot illustrations by Frazetta. That was a nice little booty shot there for you. Looked like a mostly pen, but I got to say there's probably a little bit of brush in there as well. But anyway, fantastic art by Frank Frazetta, which we always like to showcase here. One of the fun things about tuning in to this show is you get to look deep into my comic book collection. And we're going to do that right now. Bump, bump, bump. I was making sure the computer was plugged in. Okay. Or not the computer, the camera. Let's take a look. I got junk all over the place, man. Here we go. I think we're in the S's. Those of you who remember, look at that. That's called acrylic paint right there, folks. And this is called, oh, look at this. Before we get to that, these are shipping out. I was going to tell you that. I said it all over the interweb, but this baby is shipping out right now. 108 pages of just, there's Wraith of God story. There's, let me see if I can, without showing you the ending. Okay, so then we have the nightclub story. So every story has its own little title page, right, with the credits on there. So created, written, and penciled by me. Inks by Matt Ryan. Colors by Kelsey. Lettering by Kurt Hathaway. How about that? So you've seen these pages. But this is actually the pages with words on it. And then, of course, the Elephant Man page, which I was showing quite a bit, these pages. So you got this page, this story, which I believe is 15 pages. And then, I won't show the ending of that, but then it followed by the Garbage Man story, right? So you've got created, written, and illustrated by me, colors by Dance and Dan Lawless, lettering again by Kurt Hathaway. And you have a little introduction about Garbage Man. So if you're not really, you've never heard of the character before, I'll give you a little intro right there. Same with the nightclub. And so then you get in here and Night of the Living Jed. So there's a great little Garbage Man story that goes 16 pages in here. And then after that, we go to Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger. Created, written, illustrated, and colored. Yes, I did everything except lettering, which Warren Montgomery did. So then you got this little title page here that gives you an introduction to Kit Carter right here. And then we go into the what I called episodes, because these were all conceived originally as sort of like a weekly comic strip. But I did them in comic page format size so that I could actually at some point print them in a book like I've done here. These were available on through my website a while ago. No longer. But so those are all printed in here, all 14 of those. And then you get the Empire Comics info page. Look at that. Your collector stamp for this issue is Wraith of God. That's the number 2. Eon Chance was the first one from the first comic. And we got a letters page in here this time. That was another stretch goal. Letters to the Wraith. It's not the best letter page title, but it's all I could come up with. And then, of course, Adam Miller pinup. It's a little dark here, but you can see it better actually in the book. He won the fan art contest. And then, of course, the final page is our ad for Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger, Planet Doom, and then Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. So anyway, there's a quick preview of the entire book. So you're getting 4 stories in there. Quite the value, 108 pages of excitement. And that's shipping out right now. All right, so make sure there's no wet paint here. Okay, so we're looking at S's, and we've come to our good friend, the Submariner. This is Submariner number 1 from 1968. So like probably a 9.0 cover. I traded for artwork like ages ago. Might be an 8, somewhere between 8 and a 9, but pretty nice shape. And like I said, it was the comic shop owner, his wife, liked some of my artwork, so she picked all the art she liked. And then I came up with a number, and then I just went over to his store and took everything I could find. I've got all the issues. I just am giving you some highlights. This is number 7, probably in near mint condition. But this is like that famous photo cover. That's a Buscema, John Buscema Submariner. This, of course, is the classic, right? Submariner versus the Thing, very reminiscent of Fantastic Four 112, which is a black cover, and the Thing versus the Hulk. In the rage of battle. See, if you're a kid and you see this on a newsstand, how do you not pick that up? I mean, even if you don't even know who the characters are, you're like, Judas Priest, I want to read this. Funny thing is, Namor is always like as big as the Thing. You know, I probably should have made him a little smaller, but who am I to criticize? There's a lot of guest stars in Submariner. We've got the Golden Age Human Torch in here. They used to be buddies back in World War II, but apparently not so much now. This is Submariner 14. Looks like a Maurice Severin cover. We got a guest appearance by our good friend Dr. Doom. That's Submariner number 20. I don't have the entire run of Submariner. I have the first 20 issues, though, I think. I used to buy these when I would be at a show and I couldn't find anything else I wanted. I would just go pick up Submariner comics because this is Sal Buscema here. This is a really nice near mint copy. Again, you've got Submariner versus Hercules, another guest star, issue 29. But I like the Submariner. I like Thor for some reason. And so I'll always, whenever in doubt, I'll go buy a Submariner or a Thor issue that I don't have. Here we've got Captain Marvel, the real Captain Marvel. The real Captain Marvel is the 1940s Fawcett, Shazam Captain Marvel. But for Marvel's sake, this is the Captain Marvel. Gil Kane costume. I like the green one was okay, but when Gil Kane redesigned he was my favorite. When he had the white hair, it's my favorite version. But anyway, another guest star. Now these are significant because these are actually, this is 34 and 35. These are the first appearance of the Defenders. So you got Submariner, the Hulk, and Silver Surfer, which is kind of a misnomer because, yeah, all these characters are in the Defenders, but Doctor Strange was sort of the key member of the Defender, and he's not in this, but they still classify this as the first appearance of the Defenders right here. And you got the Defenders and the Avengers in here in 35. This is significant. Submariner number 50. Nice near mint copy of this. This is the first appearance of Namora. So it got hot for a while. It's come back down a little bit, but it's still, a favorable minor first appearance to have. Nice Gil Kane cover in those 1972 Marvel box formats that I did a tribute to on Wraith of God #1 and also in Blood Hunters with the Tomb of Dracula tribute cover. Love this look. I'll probably do another one down the line. I got this one because, well, MODOK's in it. And anything with MODOK in it, I'm getting. That's another nice Gil Kane cover. Prepare the chamber beyond this day, Namor dies. Dun, dun, dun. And of course, we'll do this one first. This is Namor in his first groovy 1970s new costume, the black one, which is actually pretty cool. Since he can fly with the little wings on his feet, which I never really understood that. Would any sort of sea creature have wings that would make you fly? But anyway, so these little, bat wings underneath here probably help him when he's flying. I actually like this design. It is kind of 70s, but I can see him, his legs getting cold in the deep sea. So he's like, yeah, I'll put a little something on there, put some pants on so I don't get quite as cold. And then, of course, we have the Spider-Man crossover. This is a Romita cover. And this is number 69. Give up, Namer. You're surrounded. Never. While I live, I fight. And of course, to smash a spider, typical Marvel caption there. So anyway, that's a brief look at my Submariner collection. Not all of them, but just some of the highlights. Oh, look. You can see Ming the Merciless through here. Or Zing the Zealous, I guess I should say. And Kit Carter. So I don't know if that gets us out of the S's yet, but next week we will dig deeper into my collection and get through the rest of the S's. What do we have? Oh, yeah. Submariner, STU. We already did Strange Tales. So must have done Strange Adventures already then. We might be out of the S's. Submariner might be the end of the S's, which means we get into the T's, and I got a lot of that. So Geek Adventure says Solomon Grundy wants pants too. Yeah, they had him as the Savage Submariner there for a while. Prefer classic subby. So Paul, our resident engineer, is saying, no, give me classic green swim trunks Submariner. Don't give me any of that black spandex. Okay, what did we miss here? Is that the Namer costume that inspired Gene Simmons from Kiss? It sure looks like it, doesn't it? My homie and personal rival, Ellie McComicsgate, says flying fish. Yeah, but they don't have birds' wings. Angela Curry doesn't think those wings can help him fly. Namer versus the crab people, crab people, crab people. There we go. That's it's my Captain Marvel. Yep. Cole King. Warren is my favorite letterer. His work is top notch. Warren brings a lot of creativity to his lettering, and I do appreciate that because I don't have to think as much then. Marcus Killigrew pointing out the Thing wasn't drawn as big back then as he is today, which is true, and the Hulk wasn't either. The Hulk has become gigantic, and probably since, well, I guess Herb Trimpe drew him bigger, but I was going to say Keown drew him really big. Henry Beam says, you ever thought about getting that subby slab? No, because every time I get a book slabbed, it always comes back like a grade lower or grade and a half lower than I think it is, and it just ticks me off. So no. I buy graded books, but I'm not going to have any of my books graded because I would rather, if I ever had to sell one, I'd rather argue with someone about the condition than have it slabbed and then, leave no doubt that it's not as nice as I think it is. And let's see here. Namer always chasing after Sue Richards. It's true. You'd think you'd think he would respect the guy code, which means you don't go after another guy's wife, or especially wife, but a girlfriend or anything like that. You got to, that's the unwritten guy code. But a lot of guys break it these days, which I'm very disappointed in. I thought Namer was kind of, yeah, he was, but I don't know. I don't know what my fascination with him and Thor. They're just off-brand sort of characters that I always found sort of interesting. So, let's see. Show us how thick that bad boy is. Of course, he's referring to Wraith of God. This is a thick book, you guys. That's scene number 2. And that is not right up there. I thought when I saw those, I thought it was a chip. I was like, oh my gosh, but it's actually part of the flame here wrapping around. So I was like, no, they're all chipped. And of course they're not. I think I mentioned this on Comicsgate Kings that I have all my books shipped from the printer, double boxed and shrink wrapped. It keeps them from getting damaged, and it costs more, granted, but I don't have to deal with any, 100 books got damaged, or I lost 200 books because of damage and shipping. they don't get damaged. I have to pay more, but it makes sure that I get all my books. So anyway, there's the spine. It says Empire Comics down here at the bottom, of course. And there's the little Empire Comics logo right there. So anyway, this is a big, thick book. There's no, because this is the wraparound, I decided not to put the UPC code on this one because it would have covered up Dick Ayer's gravesite. And I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to put it up here because it seemed weird being up there. So these all have UPC codes. So if you were to buy this in a comic shop, which you won't be able to, but I mean, if someone from a comic shop contacts me and says, hey, I want to buy 50 copies, I work something out. But anyway, you would, there's a UPC code in here that you can scan it and it'll show up on the register. Yeah. Anyway, so I got, grandma is working, well, she's my mom, but my kid's grandma is down there stuffing books into bags and boards. And I can't even keep up with her. She's just relentless. Because I said, Mom, you can take a break. She goes, what else I got to do? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So she just keeps on going. And Shelly and I can't get them packaged up and shipped out as fast as she can get them bagged and boarded. So they're just like, I'm running out of boxes to put all these bagged and boarded comics in because we can't get them out the door as fast as she's doing it. But anyway, we're working hard at it, and we're going to get them out as fast as possible. Evil One for $5. Thank you so much. Sick, laying around, and my uncle just had a heart attack. Oh, today's in the hospital. Could use some prayers. You and Shelly are always in mind. You got it, buddy. Best to your uncle. And I will keep my prayers this evening. And hope you're feeling better as well. But appreciate you joining us, even though you're ill. Hopefully I don't make you more ill. Now let's see here. Paul Billard says, your mom rocks. Indeed, she does. I told her she has to live forever because I don't know who's going to bag and board all my books. Going forward if she doesn't do it. So did she call you a wimp? No, she's too nice to do that. Elmer Dugabagoo Dugabagoo. Oh my gosh. Dugabagoo. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here all week. All the projects look super incredible too. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Everybody's offering up prayers and good wishes to Evil One. And that's very nice, you guys. If you're praying folk, make sure you keep his uncle in your prayers. 40% Zed said, if you smuggle me out of Canada, I'll bag your books for food. We'll bag books for food. Should make that make a sign out of that. Sequential Treasure says, stuff Aaron's coffers like it's the 2020 election. That's good. All right, let's keep this this show moving right along. What do I got next up here? Oh, I prepared a who's this guy segment. So let's go ahead and find out who this guy is for this week. Jazzy. Chris Ayers. Who is Chris Ayers? Chris Ayers is actually an artist I know. He's a friend of mine. Unfortunately, I have not talked to him face to face since prior to COVID. I should shoot him an email, see what he's up. I'd love to get him on Greybeards, although he's very shy, so I don't know that he would do it. But he's a character designer. There's a dog behind me, by the way. I'm feeling stalked a bit here. He is a character designer and top notch. I know two, him and Brett Bean, and they're both exceptional. Brett's doing comics these days as well as design, character design. But as far as I know, Chris is still just doing character design. This is what the young man looks like. And I say young because he's younger than me. And anybody that's younger than me, now Chris hasn't an incredible story. And this is what makes him so, I mean, his artwork's fantastic, and we'll see more of it in a moment. But the thing about Chris was, Chris got diagnosed with leukemia and recovered from it. And he was a character designer at the time. And he started doing drawings, and he would draw like kind of to celebrate life. He would do one of these just creature or animal character designs, one every day to start his day, right? And just to kind of, to celebrate his recovery in his life, right? And so I believe it was J.J. Abrams told him, hey, you should put these in a book. And he hadn't even thought about doing anything with them. But on that recommendation, he did put out a book called The Daily Zoo. Okay. And it looks like this. This is the first. This is the first book. It came out in hardcover and in softcover. He kind of tells his story on the inside. And so as you see, it's volume 1 there. The Daily Zoo, Keeping the Doctor at Bay with a Drawing a Day, forward by J.J. Abrams, wrote the forward for him. And so when my fantasy book came out that I show on here occasionally called, I keep wanting to say the original title that I named it, but they renamed it in their stupidity. But Fantastical Creatures, How to Hunt Them Down and Draw Them Where They Live, right? And it was essentially a book of creature illustrations with a humorous write-up. That was my book. And it came out about the same time as the Daily Zoo did. And so they were both on Amazon at the same time, right? And what you do when you have a book on Amazon, at least initially, is you're constantly checking Amazon to see where your ranking is, right? And I was watching Chris's book because it seemed very similar to mine, and he was killing me. And so I reached out to him and emailed him and said, hey, I've got a book. You and I have a book that's out there similar, blah, blah, blah. And we just started talking over email. And he sort of, I told him, I'm usually a comic book artist and this is what I've done. And he said, oh yeah, I'm a character designer. This is what I've done. And, and he told me his story. And then we sort of became friends. And then we'd see each other at conventions. We would hang out and stuff. And like I said, I haven't seen him since, I've only been to one San Diego since all the shutdowns because of COVID. And then Shelley's cancer kept me from going, this past San Diego, but the year before. So I haven't seen him, and I didn't see him this year because I forgot to go look for him. But anyway, so he started doing these books, and he's still doing these drawings, as far as I know, every day. And then he does every year. He does a new volume. Geek Avengers for $2 says we own that book. It's pretty cool. I don't know which one, the Daily Zoo or mine. Hopefully you own both of them. But they are both very cool. And thank you for the $2, Geek. Now, he was like, I believe, don't quote me on this because I have to think, but I believe he worked on Alien versus Predator. I'm pretty sure he did on character design on that stuff. But he does a lot of animation stuff, like the penguins from what's that zoo show where they were in the zoo and they escaped the zoo and went back to the jungles in Africa, and things weren't exactly as they thought. But those 3 penguins had their own television show, and he did a lot of the design stuff on that. Yours, Aaron. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You should get his as well. Let's see, Madagascar. That's it right there. Yeah, Madagascar. And so he did the Penguins of Madagascar, that television show, which I love. He did design work on that and the Penguins movie, and just a bunch of stuff, right? So what I've done is I haven't pulled up drawings from his movies, but from his book instead. And he works traditionally. This is colored pencil on tan paper. And, but he works in watercolor and he works digitally. He does in pencil. He does, colored pencil. He's a really talented guy. I was bugging him forever to try to sell me, an original, but he did most of these, I assume is still the case, in a sketchbook. And he says he doesn't like to tear pages out of his sketchbook. And I'm like, but I'll pay you. So I've yet to get, well, no, I do have an original. I'll show you that in a minute. But I want to go through these and show you guys some of the characters. The majority of the books and the drawings are animals, but he also does like weird creatures, dragons, things like that as well. So as you can imagine, as a character designer, he has quite the imagination. This is a really cute piece. I missed that. Geek Avengers says the turtle. Is that Mitch McConnell? This is a great one here. So yeah, he basically would start every day with something like this. And you can imagine it's like, dude, that's like beyond a warm-up, So by the end of the year, he's got 365 drawings. Is that how many days are in a year? Somebody help me. I think it's 365. And then he published them in a book. And I think he's got, I don't know, I've got 4 volumes of his stuff. They ended up doing a show in Paris, and I got that book as well. A hyena that's not laughing, exactly. Leg Kick says, is that Shane? I know that hyena. 365 is correct. Duh. I appreciate the help, but I didn't need the extra commentary. So, okay. Let's see what else we got here from Chris. Oh, this is a cool one. This looks like it's pen and ink, but it looks like it's digitally colored. The whole thing might be digital, but I can tell the coloring is digital. You can look at those wings. You can tell that coloring is digital. But it's on textured paper. So my guess is, that might be digitally inked as well. That kind of looks like maybe it was. So now I'm wondering, did he pencil this on this paper, or did he just put the paper in as a textured background? But it is interesting that, he uses all these different mediums when he's creating these pieces. Shelley's in there saying, who else wants their book in the chat? Hopefully everybody wants their book, Shelley. I would hope that no one would be like, nah, don't send me mine. Because Shelley does the labels. So I guess maybe she's, we're doing them in order, alphabetical order. That's how they come out on the printout sheet. But she might be jumping around, which I told her not to, because that's how we end up making mistakes and double shipping stuff. But apparently she's going to do her own thing, which is what Shelley does. She does her own thing. Here's another one. This is definitely colored pencil, but it might be colored pencil over watercolor too. Isn't that great? That must be a response to my comment. Henry Bemis says, I vote that every Oregonian gets their book shipped first. Lord Hinson, Comics Gator, can't wait for mine. My son loved the first one. Thank you guys very much. We're getting them out as fast as we can. I'm going to try and get them all out by, I think I can get them all out by the 1st of December, because the first week of December. I'm going to try and do 100 a day. And we've got well over, on the campaign, we had almost 2,500 orders, but some of those were t-shirts and other things like that. So we've shipped all that stuff out. We've shipped out over 300 orders, like shot glasses, t-shirts, and other things. So I think the actual book orders are probably about 2,000 packages that need to go out. So if I do 100 a day, it'd take me 20 days. So we'll see if I can keep up that pace. This is one I tried to buy from Chris. I really wanted this one. But it's funny, when you don't need money, you don't sell your artwork. Sadly, I always need money, so I'm constantly selling my artwork. But I loved this one. I thought it was hilarious. This looks like watercolor to me. On textured paper. Apex says 2,500 orders. Whoa. I had almost 2,700 on the original Wraith of God graphic novel. Peak Avenger. That's definitely Mitch McConnell. Okay. See, that's a cheap effort, Eric, but it got enough under my skin that I gave you a little something, but not a cannonball. Okay, the Mitch McConnell jokes are rolling in. Yeah, but I tried to. I really wanted this one. I don't know why, but I did. I really liked it. Now here's a picture of some dragons that he did. I think it's really cool. Now that looks like watercolor and colored pencil as well. Almost certain it is, because I don't think you could emulate that look. Yeah, that's watercolor and colored pencils. It's another great piece. So what I did, I got Chris a few years ago to do a piece in my book, because I sent him when he got married. Did he get married, or was it for something else? I think it was like a wedding gift. Might have been a birthday gift. I can't remember now. But I sent him, this picture of Wonder Woman that I did, a color picture of Wonder Woman. And so then the next time I saw him, I got him to do a piece in my sketchbook. And that's what he did for me. I was obviously drawing Wonder Woman at the time. But that's a watercolor of a crocodile. Of course, you got like Wonder Woman's bracelet and part of her tunic, or looks like her pants. And he actually used this in one of his Daily Zoo books. I can't remember if it was volume 2 or 3. I think volume 2. So anyway, I highly recommend go checking out those books. Again, they're called The Daily Zoo. You can find them on Amazon. There's dailyzoo.com that you can go and check out Chris's work. And just make sure you tell him that I sent you. All righty. So what more do we have to show you? Oh, I got plenty. But first, let's take a quick look at the old campaign trail. Again, everybody, Kit Carter Planet Doom graphic novel, 64 pages, 8.5 by 11, hardcover and softcover edition. There's the hardcover. It'll be signed and numbered. It'll be limited edition, determined by your orders. We'll determine the edition number. And that'll also have a dog that barks on command in the background. Also has a art pinup gallery in it that will not be in the soft cover. So that's kind of the stuff you get for the extra money is obviously the hardcover, which is more expensive. You get it signed and numbered, so it's limited edition, and you get the gallery in there that will not be in the soft cover. So that's how I justified charging you more money. Shut that dog up. Here's the Chris Stevens cover. I think I'm going to get Chris to do a guest cover on my next Wraith of God as well. I dig Chris's stuff a lot. If you guys didn't watch my show last week when I interviewed Chris, you should check that out in the archives. Really interesting interview. Talks about his technique, which is mind-blowing. There's Shelly loitering back there.
I only did 12. That's all I could manage.
Oh, were you downstairs actually doing labels when you said who wants their book?
Just special ones.
Yeah, just from tonight's show. She was doing labels. So I got to package those up after this show tonight. All right. Thank you. Excuse me. Crowd's going wild. Yay for Shelly. So this is page 1. It'll be in full color, by the way, and by Kelsey Shannon. There's pages 2 and 3, which Kelsey has. He's almost done coloring, and I posted some on Twitter, but there was a couple of corrections I wanted him to make just on costume details. So as soon as he makes those, then I'll post it up here on the actual campaign page. Pinups, t-shirts, color sketchbook, insert movie poster. This is going to be cool, folks. Make sure you get this. If you're a movie fan, get this. Shot glasses, stretch goals, add-ons galore. It's so wild to me. It's like when my first campaign, of course, was Wraith of God. And I think I had Garbage Man as an add-on, and that was pretty much it. But now, as Empire continues to publish more and more product, now you do these campaigns, you got a lot more add-ons for all these different books, which allows everybody else to get caught up if you missed the first stuff. So, Evil One, are you selling any of the Wraith covers that aren't bound yet? Thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. That could be arranged, yes. Because I have 3 of each, I think. And I'm keeping 1 of each, but I'm not keeping all 3. Hey, there's Dan the Pizza Man. Genovese says, hey, Shelly. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Appreciate it. You guys, if you came in late, please hit the like and subscribe. I appreciate that very much. If you have not done so already, it helps the channel grow, which is a goal of mine anyway. And we got that page just sold. So we've got this kind of Merv-centric page with some Kit on there. And then this nice shot of Kit. And then Merv and Kit and our Lava Monster. Those 2 pages are still available for sale if you're an original art collector. So let's see. Going to refresh that real quick. Apparently nobody loves me, but that's all right. We're at 59.35. You guys back that when you can. If you haven't already, appreciate it very much. Now let's move on with the rest of our show. Oh, it's time. It is time for Aaron's top 5. And I know doing the top 5, my top 5 1960s TV shows. Now, I watched 1960s TV shows in reruns in the 70s. In the 60s, I was born in 64, so I wasn't even aware of anything until I think I watched the last season of Star Trek live when it was still on Friday nights. And I would have only been like 5 years old, 4 or 5. depending on when they were airing. So most of my 60s TV viewing was in reruns, but I still have my favorites. So, because most of the shows I grew up watching as a kid in the early 70s, early mid 70s were all 60s rerun shows. So, look at that. Paul Brillard saying Batman. Did Batman even make my list? Get Smart. There's another great one. I'm picking the ones I watched the most, and there were a lot of good ones. Batman, of course, was never my favorite, though. And Get Smart, I liked. We used to watch that. Thriller, Boris Karloff hosted that show. Twilight Zone, not so much Twilight Zone. I just watched a little bit of Night Gallery. But so it was kind of hard to kind of weed through all these. And so I have a couple of honorable mentions. You guys may be shocked that these didn't make my top 5. But one of the honorable mentions is The Munsters. And the reason The Munsters probably isn't in my top 5 is because they weren't on regularly. So it wasn't like some of the other ones on these that I had on my top 5. I didn't see this regularly. It was like special whenever you could find an episode of The Munsters. You know, we would get the Munster movies because remember they had like Munster Go Home or something like that. And there was another one. I think there was 2 Munster movies. And those would show up every once in a while. And we'd watch those, of course, and think they were great. But I don't remember this being in syndication on a regular basis, at least for me, in my area. So I didn't get to watch it as much as I probably would have loved to. And I did watch The Addams Family a lot, but that didn't make my top 5 either, but I'll give that an honorable mention. Here's another one that didn't quite crack the top 5. And that's Lost in Space. Now that may be heresy to some of you guys. I Dream of Jeannie. I watched that a lot. Bewitched, we watched that a lot. I Dream of Jeannie, the only reason I watched that was because Barbara Eden was so smoking hot. Even as a little kid, I knew that. And but that was the only reason I watched that. I mean, I enjoyed it okay. And Bewitched, I thought was actually funnier than I Dream of Jeannie. I like Bewitched a lot. But I never liked either of the Darrens all that much. I found them kind of annoying. But Paul Lynde was hilarious. And of course, what's her face who played Elizabeth Montgomery's mom dates all the way back to working on Citizen Kane and was part of Orson Welles' acting troupe. Help me out. Who played her mother on Bewitched? Agnes Moorehead. Thank you, Geek Avenger. Yes, Agnes Moorehead. I loved her in that. And the busybody neighbors used to irritate me when I was a kid. He was always looking in their window and stuff. Paul Taylor says the first Darren had a bag of problems, had to stop. That's right. He had like serious back problems and other health problems. And he finally had to quit the show. Past Master Dan says Duck Sergeant sucked. And I can make a joke about that, but I won't. But yeah, he was not my favorite. Yeah, there we go. See, Paul, I just said that, Paul. I know stuff too. Okay. Dick Van Dyke's Show, that was another good one. One that didn't make the list here either, because I didn't see enough of the episodes, but I loved it, was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I love that show, but again, it was like I didn't get enough of it, right? So I'm picking the shows that I watched regularly, like weekly. Paul Taylor says, I deleted the comment because it said bag instead of back. So he had to change his bag. That's really bad. Okay, here we go. My top 5. And all the ones I just mentioned could be on the top 5, but they didn't make it. Again, this is because of just availability to me, I think, is probably what drove these. But these are all really good shows. Here we go with number 5. love this show. To me, this was Star Trek of the Old West. It's like you had these sort of like, you had that sort of heroic Wild West adventure, but you also had that sort of sci-fi element in the show. A little bit of humor. Artemis Gordon there, always bringing the little comedy. Thank you, Frankie. Wild Wild West. Love it, Cattle Punk. So Wild Wild West comes in at number 5. And we probably, one of the reasons I watch this a lot is probably my mom was watching it. Now, my mom was a big, or is, not so much anymore. She watches Romance Channel mostly and old movies on Turner Classic. But she was a big sci-fi fan, huge sci-fi fan. And so we watched this show a lot, and probably because she thought, what's his face? The guy who played Jim West was so good looking. So that's probably why we watched this all the time. So yeah, so that's number 5, The Wild Wild West. Now, there's a variety of reasons why I watched this. This was on all the time. In fact, I mean, we watched it daily. Okay. It was Gilligan's Island. And I love this show. Quotable show, but let's get real. Even as a young lad, I understood the allure of Marianne and Ginger. So, of course, Marianne was Dawn Wells, and Ginger was played by, oh, doggone it, what's her name? You guys know. She was also in Dallas. I think she was one of J.R. Ewing's squeezes, Tina Louise. But yeah, we started, I started watching this when I was a kid, but then as I got to like adolescence and we were still watching it, that's when Mary Jane and Ginger were more important to me in the show than anything else. Geek Avengers says Gilligan's Island has bigger fan club than Star Trek. True story. Yeah, I wonder how much those guys back then made. And I know that there was like, wasn't there originally when shows ran in reruns that there was, you'd get royalties, but only for like 7 years, and then you were cut off. That's since been changed, I believe. But because people are getting really pissed that these shows were running forever, 20, 25 years in syndication, and they stopped getting paid. But yeah, this was on daily. I mean, every day after school, Gilligan's Island was on. So that's one of the reasons we watched it, but I liked it. Now, this one might surprise you guys, but I absolutely loved this show when I was a kid because it was like, again, it was sort of Star Trek-ish, right? You had your commander here, Gary, what was that guy's name? That played the main commander there. You had a couple of chicks, and this guy was the grumpy comic relief. He always had a kid in there. I didn't know. Irwin Allen produced that, Land of the Giants. How about that? So it was a sci-fi show. It's kind of like Fantastic Voyage, except, constantly they were in peril, like constantly from, giant people. So I can't remember. Did they shrink down or did they go to a different dimension? I'm trying to remember now how they set that up. It had a great intro. I loved the intro. And to me, it was like a monster show without it really being monster, because the monsters, of course, were just human beings that were giant, unless there was a cat or something like that. Geek Avenger, now he's a little more salty than I am. Land of the Giants, I only had to see one episode of that to get tired of their oversized props gimmick. Yeah, but you didn't watch it when you were a kid. It didn't they show Land of the Giants on MeTV. It's terrible. Probably is, but I'm just saying, when I was a kid, I loved it. and watched it all the time. I have not watched it since I've been an adult, I don't think, but when I was a kid, I loved this show. So Geek Avenger is saying, as a kid, he was more sophisticated than me, saying he thought it was stupid even when he was a kid. When I, as a kid, loved it. I see what you're saying. I know. I see what you're doing. I don't have any animated shows on here. Okay, so like the Flintstones, which I loved, and what was the other? Johnny Quest, things like that, which of course would be on this list. This is all live action stuff. It's not no animated stuff on this list. That would be like a separate list. All right. But I don't know. I loved this show when I was a kid. Okay, here we go. Now here's a show that I think was good when I was a kid, but also it was an adult show, but I still think it holds up today. I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. Two. Mission Impossible. Love this show. And I used to watch it when I was a kid. It used to be on, again, it was mostly in reruns late at night on the weekends. And when I was staying up late, I would watch it. And in fact, there was a season or two, I guess just one season, because this is the second season right here. The first season did not have Peter Graves in it. They had a different guy that was in charge of the Impossible Mission Force. But I loved all the espionage, the makeup. Martin Landau, I'm pretty sure, played the makeup guy. That was coming up with the disguises. I Spy, that was another good show. I like that one with Bill Cosby and what's his face that was in Greatest American Hero, Robert Culp. This dude right here, I can't remember his name, but he was like the explosives electrician guy. And then this dude was the muscle. Barbara Bain, of course, she was the sex appeal. She was married to Martin Landau too. That was her. They did a show called Space 1990 in the early 70s. But I love this show. It was great, and it was kind of exciting and international intrigue that I even appreciated when I was a kid. Then I even watched episodes when I got older too, just because I liked the show. Evil One says, Get Smart beats Mission Impossible 100%. Okay. Citizen Rose says, The Courtship of Eddie's Father has to be number one. God, there was a lot of good 60s TV show, wasn't there? I never really got into that because it was just, the kid, I was like, I never really identified with the kid. And then it was always about Bill Bixby, trying to date somebody, and it never worked out. And I was just like, didn't really appeal to me as a kid. Prisoner, that's another really good one. I never watched it though. Leonard Nimoy was in that show after that. That's right. He came on later, didn't he? Paul Taylor, My Favorite Martian, another Bill Bixby show. Did that started in the 50s though, didn't it? I could be wrong. The Rifleman, there's another one. Oh, Daniel Boone, remember that? With Fess Parker, we used to watch that all the time. I watched some of the, there was Death Valley days. There was the Bonanza. There was another one, the Virginian. We watched all that stuff. I was never big into the Westerns. I'm more of a Western fan now than I was when I was a kid. All right, folks, you want to know what my number one show from the 60s? If you even have to guess this. Oh, wait a minute. We better do the thing. Yeah, I mean, I prepared them. I might as well use them, right? Here we go. If you even have to guess this, then you just don't know me. Yes, of course, it's Star Trek. Not only the greatest show of the 60s, the greatest show of all time. Let's just face it. Mr. Ed, we used to watch that too. Oh my gosh. Gentle Ben, yeah, watch Gentle Ben with Ron Howard's little brother, Clint Howard, with his bad teeth. Okay, Spock's Brain was not a great episode. The third season, I disavow like at least half of the third season. Okay. But the Enterprise incident, where they went and stole the cloaking device from the Romulans and Spock got a little romantic with the Romulan captain. That was a good one. Now the Abe Lincoln one was dumb, but I still really like it. But it was kind of silly. Abe Lincoln in space. Nordic Nerd says, Aaron, yes, I did watch the original Battlestar Galactica. In fact, I couldn't wait for that show because it was right on the heels of Star Wars. And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. And it was fine. I mean, they spent a lot of money on that show, but it was fine. I don't know that I'd go back and watch it. I've actually met at a con Richard Hatch, who was shall we say, showed up to the con in about 10 a.m. in the morning. He was about a half hour late, 10:30 in the morning he showed up with 2 girls underneath his arms and smelling of booze. So I'm just saying. Now, Dirk Benedict, on the other hand, I met him at a show in Phoenix, and they were taking us back and forth on golf carts from the con, which was at the Arizona Cardinals football stadium. The con was in the football stadium, so it was kind of cool. And so they would take us to the hotel on these golf carts. And on the last day, I happened to be sharing the golf cart with Dirk Benedict. And so we chatted a little bit on the way, from the show back to the hotel. And then I got my stuff ready, checked out. I was waiting for the cab to come and pick me, take me to the airport. And Dirk Benedict's down there in the lobby wandering around. So he sees me and so he comes over and talks to me because he has nobody else to talk to. And so we sit and chatted for probably another 30 minutes. And he lives in, I guess, Montana. And his son was like a professional soccer player in Europe. And he was telling me about, the spread he had in Montana. And, he had this river creek down below his house and how he get the water up out of the creek. And it just seemed like really brutal, hard work. He was talking about how it snowed, and how brutal the snows were. And I told him, I said, Dirk, if you're trying to convince me to move to Montana, you're not doing a very good job. But he seemed like a really nice guy. And I was going to say, I also got to know Erin Gray over the convention circuit, but she was Buck Rogers. She wasn't Battlestar Galactica. So. That's an excellent question. I don't know. My guess is no, but I can't say for sure. Ooh, that's a good. I forgot about that. We loved Kung Fu. I loved Kung Fu. There's not enough fighting in that show, though. And the Green Hornet was kind of cool. Although I think I saw like 3 episodes of the Green Hornet. Was that ever actually a real show? I remember him crossing over with Batman once, but I know it was a real show. But it's like for some reason I never got episodes of it. So I've only seen like 2 or 3. Paul Taylor's correct. That was, according to Bruce Lee, that was a show he pitched to a producer as a pilot, as a show for himself. And they ended up taking the concept and then getting David Carradine to do it and not Bruce Lee. Because they thought that, they couldn't use an actual Asian actor, the American audience wouldn't accept it, which was absurd. I think that's the reasoning they gained from it. I mean, that would have been so cool if Bruce Lee had been in that show. Way cooler than it was. And it was still a good show. Marcus Killigrew says he thinks the Green Hornet was 1 season. And the other thing is Kung Fu, that was a 70s show though, wasn't it? I don't think that was a 60s show. I want to say that was like that premiered early 70s. So that wouldn't count. Everybody's confirming that Bruce Lee got ripped off. Yeah. Citizen Ronan says the guy who wrote Kung Fu said Bruce Lee was full of it. He was never involved. Depends on whose legend you talk to, right? Who's sharing the legend. Lee, well, no, Geek Avenger, he might have pitched it in the 60s, but it didn't get made till the 70s. I know he died. Lee died for the release of he was filming Game of Death, and he died in the middle of filming Game of Death, which didn't get released till 75, maybe. I don't know exactly when Bruce Lee died. You guys are going to have to give me the date because I don't know, but I'm positive Kung Fu started in this. Well, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I think Kung Fu, the show, when it actually started, had to have been in the 70s, early 70s, 72. So you're saying that's when Bruce Lee died? Okay. So it's very possible that the Kung Fu didn't come on TV until the early 70s. There you go. Kung Fu was 72. I just looked it up. There you go. 1972 was Enter the Dragon. So are you sure he died before the release of Enter the Dragon? It's Game of Death, right? That he died before, because he made half of Game of Death, or most of it, and they had to kind of shoot around him to finish the movie. And that was later. All right, Henry Jeremek is straightening me out here. He says, no, Bruce Lee was filming Game of Death. Then he stopped to film Enter the Dragon, okay, and then died, so he never finished Game of Death. Okay. And so they finished it without him. I got you. There you go. Paul Taylor saying he died in 1973. So then are we saying that he died after Enter the Dragon and before Game of Death, or did he die before I don't know when Enter the Dragon was released. The internet said he died in 1973. 73, everybody's saying he died in 73. But when did Enter the Dragon come out? The Evil One, this has become... Yes. I got Star Trek up here. We're talking about Bruce Lee. But anyway, Star Trek is, of course, my number one show of all time. And, even though I could talk about Star Trek forever, it seems we're talking about Bruce Lee. We just got to get the facts straight. That's all. Enter the Dragon was released in 73. Okay. There we go. Are we all square then? So Henry Jeremek said he died just months before the release of Enter the Dragon in 1973. Okay. Thank you. Let's move on. Oh my goodness. Do I have anything else? My gosh, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I probably should wrap this show up at some point, but I can't wrap it up without, let's see, have I got anything else planned? Oh, just this. Yes, it's once again time for everybody's favorite segment, Not Finding Bigfoot. Let's drink to that. You guys will be excited to know that I still haven't found Bigfoot this week, but I have found some interesting videos that I think we should all take a look at. So let's do that. Okay. Yeah, Aldeon, I'm not sure that I would consider that actual Bigfoot footage. But anyway, let's start with something that isn't Bigfoot, but is really disgusting and interesting. Now, check this video. Now, look at how bumpy this video is, but it's still clear, right? So this is real. It's not fuzzy. This is a freaking anaconda. I don't know. I think is this in the Philippines? I can't remember now. Look at the size of that thing. Just lounging on this tree, this dead tree hanging over the river that these guys are going. They're filming it on their boat. That's why it's bouncy. It gets a little bit stabilized as we go around the other side of this. But how freaking big is this anaconda? I mean, I want to go Quint here and go, that's a 20-footer, 25, 3 tons of him. Look at the size of that snake. Now, can you imagine living in this area where, yeah, I might find that under my house. Oh, that's going to come and eat my dog. And that could eat you. Look at the size of that thing. Are you kidding me? Wow. Here we go. Nomsky says they caught an 18-foot python in Florida with a 5-foot alligator in it. I believe it. That's just, didn't these snakes, like, was it pythons or anacondas? One of the two were introduced into Florida, and but they're not supposed to be there. And so they're sort of problematic. And they, I can't remember if it was the pythons or the anaconda that are in Florida and should not be there. John Michel says pythons. Okay. Everybody's agreeing it's pythons. But Judas Priest, look at that thing. Okay. So I wanted to start you guys out with a little bit of reality before we get into this stuff that's suspect reality. Now check this out. Now, why do I show you guys this? This is another real thing, but I think you'll find that the reason I'm showing this is fairly self-evident. Now take a look at this. This is a bear walking on his hind legs like a dude. Look at these shots and tell me that half of the blurry Bigfoot videos that we see, look at that. That's a bear. Are bears walking on their hind legs. I mean, this is like, this cracks me up. It's like a circus bear or something. Look at him. Do, 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 do. Now you take an image like that, shake it, blur it, instant Bigfoot. Oh, look at Steve Larry. He's a believer. He's got a corn cob head on though, so I respect that. Doesn't explain a 6 foot, 7 foot stride between steps. Yeah, but you're talking about, ooh, I just ordered the new Judas Priest on vinyl, the variant cover in 7-inch with extra songs on it. Rock on, dude. Obviously they have a new lead singer since the lead singer for Judas Priest died from AIDS, I believe, in the 90s. Yeah, if you're talking about footprints or whatever, but I'd be willing to bet that half the videos we're getting is simply this. But anyway, that's just one cynic's opinion. Okay. Now let's get into the, okay. I have labeled this the worst cryptid photograph I have ever seen, and you will see why in a moment. Okay, first of all, does anyone need the red arrow pointing at it so that we don't miss it in the shot? This is apparently some form of dinosaur. This girl's close up of her eye. They had to put that in there because she can't believe it. Now, if you guys recall, there is a video of a skunk ape or a Bigfoot running across a grass field in Florida that we showed on this show probably months ago, that proved to be a fake. And this looks like the exact same field. I may be mistaken, but it sure looks like it. So first of all, we've got a dinosaur, this is clearly fake. And not only is it clearly fake, not only do they think that we're stupid and we're going to believe this, they have to put a red arrow on there so that we don't miss it. This, if I was teaching a fool me with your cryptid video class, you'd get an F. Okay. This is ridiculously bad. And like I said, it may be the worst I've ever seen. But if it is true, there's apparently small T-Rexes in Florida. So with red arrows pointing at them so you can't miss them. No, you guys help me out here. The original lead singer from Judas Priest died. I'm almost positive of that. Someone help me out here. Now, maybe it wasn't AIDS, maybe it was drugs or something, but he died. I'm positive. Again, I never bet my life on anything because anytime I'm 100% positive, I'm usually wrong. But I'm 100% positive on this, which means I guess I'm wrong. But there it is, Rob Halford, right? Isn't he dead? Is he not dead? Am I mistaken? Is Rob Halford not dead? Green Laser says no, he's not. Okay. Why did I? Are you guys absolutely sure Rob Halford is not dead? Because I could have swore he was dead. Kenneth Simpson says no, he's alive. And okay, well, I better stop spreading rumors about people dead. Wow. Where did I get that info? Now I'm going to, okay, you guys, okay, you're calling me out. See what I said? I was positive I was right, so therefore I'm definitely wrong. But I'm not wrong about this video. That is fake. Wow. Okay. Everybody's just piling on me, man. He's apparently still the current lead singer of Judas Priest, Aaron. Thanks for playing. All right. Why did I think... Are you guys, where did I get that information? I was so certain that I'd seen that. Oh, well. Okay, now look at this. This is me. I'm going to be more cynical here. Because it's my nature. Okay, you see this photo? Now, this is a photo. It's not a film. But what's significant about this photo? This was allegedly, or it was taken within a year of the Patterson-Gimlin film, which would have been 1969, in the same general area. Because allegedly this nature photographer wanted to further research Bigfoot. Now, this is a professional photographer, correct? And he provides us with a nice blurry photo. Because that, you know, I hired this guy to do my wedding, right? Because you want your photo to be blurry. But anyway, here's the problem with this. The problem is this doesn't look anything like the alleged creature or guy in the costume in the Patterson-Gimlin film. So there needs to be some sort of consistency at some point, wouldn't you think, with these Bigfoot sightings? And that's one of the biggest problems. They all look like they were designed by somebody else. So this is either a dude in a costume and they fuzzed it up so you couldn't tell, or it's put in post photography. That's my feeling based on the fact that he looks nothing like, even in the facial features, looks kind of like Planet of the Apes. Doesn't look anything like the sort of more caveman looking face we got in the Patterson-Gimlin film. So you go. Bub66 says there's no arrow, so it's not real. There you go. That's right. Only a red arrow authenticates this. Jimmy Reyes is here. Jimmy. Wow, finally real proof. Thank you. I'm glad I could provide it for you guys. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy. Jimmy has, of course, a campaign. It's not called Dragonlance, but it is about dragons. Gosh darn it, what's it called? Post it in the chat. He has it's on Indiegogo right now, and you want to go over and check that out and back Jimmy Reyes's project. Doggone it. Has dragons in it. I know that. Why can't I think of the name? Post it. But anyway, so you can understand my logical cynicism for the actuality of this shot. First of all, we have a professional wildlife photographer that came in with this blurry photo. Secondly, it doesn't look anything like the creature or character we saw in the Patterson Gimlin film. So therefore, I'm calling fake-a-rama on this. Dragon Rage, thank you very much, Henry Beam. Is coming through in the clutch. Jimmy Reyes says Dragon Rage on Indiegogo right now. So you want to check that out and back that, help out our good friend Jimmy. So you go to his campaign right after you back Kick Carter, then you go to Jimmy's campaign. Just want to make sure we're clear on that. All right. So now this is interesting in the sense that it's, well, we'll let you guys, this first shot, you're seeing pretty much some sort of coyote thing with mange, I think, but we got some Dogman video here, and I can never get enough Dogman. I got a weird thing blocking my face. What are you talking about, Paul? He says, I got a weird thing. Okay. Here we go. This is on, I stole this off Classified Captures, so I should give him credit. Okay, here we go. Look at, what is this? Not sure what we're seeing here. Is this legit? I wonder if it is. And here's another one. This looks fake. I don't like the way the legs connect to the body, the way it moves. I'm not convinced. Not convinced this is legit. This big whatever going on here. The way that it looks too big to be natural. I think that's fake. Everybody's saying AI. Some people saying it's John Malin. Paul Taylor says it looks like a wolf cobbled together with something else. Henry Bemis says that's the fakest of the fake news. Dunwin Gully says, yeah, but you know, these guys, they get a lot of views on their channel by trying to convince you that this stuff is real. This is better, but yeah, I'm thinking AI, right? Isn't that what we're looking at here? J Dread saying that's so fake. Again, Bub66. Oh, well, yeah, they keep running it backwards because they don't have enough film to actually do it. Bub66 says, once again, no arrow. Paul Taylor, of course, is a biologist, so he would know, says that's a bear's head on a wolf's body right there. This guy right here. Kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Everybody says that's fake. Those limbs aren't connecting right, says some person. A dude on all fours wearing a dog suit. Head looks strange. Steve Lurie says, now Steve Lurie looks like he's into this. He says, looks neat. I'd explore this one further. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or if he actually is a defender of cryptic lore. Aldeon saying, I've seen John Malin do live streams like that. So maybe it, what's this? Says, but Aaron isn't getting any more viewers showing all these fake videos. What can I do? I try my best to be my own unique brand of bizarre entertainment, but apparently it isn't enough. I will, did you guys, those of you who were here at the beginning would have seen the intro, and the intro had a clip. I'm using Streets of San Francisco intros to get the titles of each of these episodes. And today's episode was Deadlift, right? Now, that's an episode of Streets of San Francisco where Arnold Schwarzenegger was the guest star, and it must have been very, very early acting, job for him. And he plays this bodybuilder. I know this is a shock. and he murders this chick in the first scene because apparently maybe he's on steroid rage or something. But he meets this girl jogging, and then she takes him back to her apartment, and she convinces him to take his shirt off, and then she wants him to kind of pose for her because she doesn't really understand this whole bodybuilding thing. And so he starts flexing, you know, making flex faces, and she starts laughing at him. And he goes, "Why are you laughing at me?" And she's like, "Oh, but you just look so funny." And he just goes in this rage and kills her, and then leaves the apartment. So, and that she's, you know, then Carl Malden, and this was after what's his face left the show, and Richard Hatch took over. So it wasn't Michael Douglas had already left the show, so it was after that. So then Carl Malden and Richard Hatch investigate this strange murder of this young lady. Paul Taylor's familiar with the episode. After she promised him she wouldn't laugh at him. He was already in his steroid rage. So what are you going to do? Green Laser says, it's just a new cryptid I made up based on the bare-headed wolf. I somehow picked where you live as its home. Okay. Something I missed in the chat here. Danky Frank says he murdered the special guest star. That's right. He was just the guest star. And he murdered the special guest star. Oh my gosh. That's right. Carl Malden and Apollo. All right, you guys, that's pretty much all I got for you. I would encourage everybody to, as we're heading out the door here, if you haven't, please back Kick Carter, Planet Doom. And the link is in the description of this video, both for, we got a few backers there. Thank you very much, you guys. The link is in the description of this video to go to this campaign, as well as Florida Man versus Hogzilla. So it's Florida Man 2, Florida Man versus Hogzilla by Mike Barron. The link is in the description that's on the Fund My Comic site, but it's also available on Indiegogo. So thank you guys all for the super chats. Thank you for participating in the fun and the nonsense. And couldn't do this show without your help. Like and subscribe if you haven't done that. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to run downstairs, grab a bite to eat, and then start packaging up Blood Hunters books to send out to you guys. So thank you for joining me. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time right here on Aaron Live.